Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Kelsey. I am a homeschooling mom to 4 children for the past 6 years, and today I am very excited to share with you how we pick our curriculum for the next school year. So this video is actually in collaboration with Calm in the Chaos and Homegrown Homeschoolers. There will be a link down below with a playlist where you can watch everybody else that is involved in the collaborations videos. So I have my little co-host here with me today. Say hi, Silas. Okay, so you might hear some baby noises over here, but this is how I have to film these days. So let's jump right in. First, I want to put a quick disclaimer in this video that this is just how I pick curriculum for the next school year. If you are secular, some of these things may not apply to you at all, or maybe you live in a state that has very strict restrictions when it comes to homeschooling. The state I live in is very lenient, so this is just how I do it. Luckily, we have a whole playlist, like I said, with everybody that is going to tell you how they do it. And so maybe my way does not work for you, but I really want this channel to be an encouragement and to help other people who may be new to homeschooling or just need to know how to do things differently, that this will be something that they can come and check out and hopefully help them in one way or another. So let's jump into it. The first thing that I do before I pick my next year's curriculum is I pray and I sit down and talk with my husband. We talk about the goals that we want for our children, the things that worked this year, that didn't work this year, things we would like to try next year, all of that. And the center of our marriage is Christ, and so it is important that my husband and I talk about it and that we pray together about it. The next thing that I do is I see, is this a curriculum that I can use with both of my boys? Now, my son is going to be 11 when this video comes out, and I have a new 7-year-old. And then I also have a 2-year-old and a 3-month-old. So I need something where we can do the bulk of our school during nap time. I can do both of the boys together. Obviously, things like math and reading and all of that are going to be more geared towards their ages and abilities. But when it comes to our family subjects like science, Bible, history, all of that, we need to be able to do that together as a family. And so there are some curriculums out there that work better together and some that do not. And so that is the biggest thing that I need to know is, can we do this together? Can it be pared down for my 7-year-old? Can it be boosted up for my 11-year-old? My 11-year-old does have ADHD, and so he needs things that are a little bit more simplistic, not quite so overwhelming, maybe not quite as rigorous, a little bit more hands-on, a little bit more visual. And my 7-year-old is very similar in his learning style, where he kind of needs more of the visual hands-on as well. I wouldn't say he's advanced for a 7-year-old, but he's a little bit more advanced than my 11-year-old was at that age. Bless you. Baby sneezes. So I just need to make sure, first and foremost, that our main curriculum is going to be something that we can do together as a family, maybe even include my 2-year-old, or, you know, maybe we can do it while she's awake and playing and things like that. The next thing that I consider is the cost. Is this a very expensive curriculum? Will I be able to buy this used? I really love going to eBay for used curriculum. Also, there's lots of great Facebook groups out there that sell used curriculum and things like that, and so that's always kind of what I'm trying to consider. Is this something I can buy used? The other thing I want to consider is, can I reuse this? Maybe I can't reuse every single component of it, but maybe I can reuse the manipulatives or the teacher's guide or something like that. Or maybe I can resell it if it doesn't work out for us. Does it go for a good rate as far as being resold? So that's something that I'm always trying to consider. I think most homeschool families out there have, you know, one parent that stays at home and one parent that works, and so we have to be able to keep a budget. I mean, obviously we have splurges and things like that, and sometimes we do pick a curriculum and think it's really gonna work and it just does not, and we have to try something else. But we do our absolute very best to pick all of our curriculum at the beginning of the year for every subject. We think it's gonna work. Maybe we've tried a couple trials or looked at the samples, and we try to buy it used, and, you know, we make sure that we're going to be able to resell it or reuse it again, and we try it and it just doesn't work, and that's okay. But we do our best to stick to our budget, and, you know, our budget has changed over the years. It's fluctuated. There was times where I had to work outside of the home and homeschool, and we had to sell our curriculum just to pay for next year's curriculum. That has happened. But at this point, we are able to get what our children need. We are able to get the curriculums that we think will work the best for them. And we still want to stay on budget. I still just bought a couple things yesterday that I had in my rainbow resource cart, and I ended up finding them for a good deal on eBay, and I purchased them that way. And so we just do what we have to do when it comes to the cost. The next thing is simplicity. I think for me, over the years, I have just really become even more minimal. It feels like the more kids that I have and the bigger our house has gotten, the more I want to simplify, because things can get out of control very, very quickly. There are some curriculums out there, for like off the top of my head, I can think about Charlotte Mason curriculums where maybe the guide or the ebook or whatever is a good price and it's very inexpensive, but you have to buy, you know, a ton of books. And so the bad thing about that is that those are books I always want to keep. I don't want to have to resell them because they're really good books to have in my library. But that's something that I try to consider too. Is this something that's simplistic? Do we use up all the resources and just throw it away at the end of the year? So kind of my cost analysis and is this simplistic can kind of clash sometimes. But most of the time, I would rather have, you know, maybe one or two things for this subject that we can reuse over and over and over again. And I don't have to buy it every single year. I don't have to buy a ton of books and things to go with it. So I try to think, is this going to be simplistic? Is this going to take up a lot of room in my house? Is this something that has a lot of parts to go with it? The last thing I try to think of is our preferable style. As I said earlier, my boys are very hands-on, very visual. I think a lot of children are. So obviously I'm not probably going to go with a curriculum that is for an auditory learner. There are just some things that do not work with my boys. I'm starting to find that honestly, my oldest is kind of like me. I could sit and like do a work. When I was a little girl, I used to love to sit and do workbooks. And so does my oldest. And so, you know, I think a lot of homeschoolers are like, don't make it school at home, don't use workbooks, but we just do what works. We do what works for us. If my son learns through workbooks and he enjoys using workbooks and they're inexpensive and, you know, they can be sold or recycled or whatever, he can use a workbook. It'll be okay as long as it works for him. So I try to go in that way. I like to consider Charlotte Mason things first because I really think the Charlotte Mason philosophy, at least parts of it, work really well for us. Not all of it works really well for us, but parts of it work really well for us. And so I kind of go down that list of, is this visual? Is it hands-on? You know, all of these things. Is this in our, you know, preferred learning style? All of these things. Now, coming to our close here, that does not mean that every single curriculum that we use or have used or tried falls into all of those categories. They are not going to all be inexpensive, simplistic, you know, our learning style, perfect for family style. That's just not going to work. Even some of them aren't designed to be family style, right? So things like math and language arts probably are not going to work family style. So most of our curriculums that we are planning on using next year or currently using now fall into at least probably 2, if not 3 of those categories. So that is the biggest thing for us, is we just use what works. And if we're trying something and trying something and trying something and it does not work, we may push it out to the end of the year, or we may just stop and start fresh. So that is it for me, guys. I hope you will check that playlist down below. I'm sure there are so many great homeschool channels that will be participating in this collaboration. If you are not yet, make sure to subscribe so you can see all of my upcoming videos. I hope you guys are having a great rest of your year, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Hey, shake. Bye. Bye-bye.